Hey guys, thank you so much for deciding to hang out with me for a few minutes today while we talk about a Docker container called Hoarder. If we take a look at the Hoarder website, which is hoarder.app, it says that Hoarder is the bookmark everything app, quickly save links, notes, and images, and Hoarder will automatically tag them for you using AI for faster retrieval, and it's built for the data hoarders out there. Now, a couple of things. You don't have to use AI for this if you don't want to. I know that the AI isn't for everyone, and that's fine. And there are people out there who are just trying to get their head kind of wrapped around AI and how to use it and how it works and that sort of thing. And if you're one of those people, today's video sponsor might be a huge help. Thanks to DataCamp for sponsoring today's video. If you've ever been fascinated by AI, dreamt of building your own smart algorithms, or just wanted to understand what all the buzz is about, you're in the right place. DataCamp has curated a learning path that's perfect whether you're a total newbie or you're already coding your own neural networks. You can start with their Introduction to Machine Learning course, which breaks down the fundamentals in a way that's easy to grasp. And once you've got those foundations, you can level up with Python-specific machine learning courses, or even take the plunge into the mind-blowing realm of deep learning with TensorFlow. And DataCamp has gamified the system just a little bit so that as you go through each of the different courses and complete different tasks, you gain experience points just to help keep you motivated. And you can actually, if you need to, redeem some of those XP for hints and clues along the way if you get stuck on a certain area. So be sure to check the description for more information on how you can level up with DataCamp. Thanks again to DataCamp for sponsoring today's video. So below that, they've got a demo that we can try, but of course, I've got my own demo. We're gonna check that out here in just a minute. They've also got a GitHub repository, which I'll pop that open in a new window so we can take a look at that later. But if we scroll down, we get a little bit of a screenshot of what the app looks like. And I really actually dig the layout here. By default, it looks like it's in a masonry grid or a masonry layout, which is kind of a more compact way of organizing things. So there's less dead space between what you're doing there. But they've also got, if we scroll down a little farther, they've got a mobile version shown here on the page. So when I first tried this on my phone, I just used the browser because I didn't feel like installing another app. And I'm actually really glad that I did it that way because the mobile experience in the browser is really, really good. But if we scroll down, we're going to skip a section and come back. But if we scroll down, they've got apps for iOS, for Android. They've also got extensions for Chrome and for Firefox. If we scroll down a bit farther on the page or back up, depending on where you are in this, it says bookmark. You can bookmark links, take simple notes, and store images and PDFs. There's AI tagging. Again, that isn't for everyone. You don't have to do that, but you absolutely can. I've got it set up. I think it's kind of neat. We'll talk about some of that here in a little bit. Auto fetch, so basically if you bookmark something, it will grab an image representative of the website. You can do lists, you can do search, thankfully. Self-hosting, of course, that's what we're here for. You can do bulk actions, and they've got dark mode. And I think it's funny that their app has dark mode, but their website doesn't. Just a little thing I found amusing. So, and again, they've got docs, they've got GitHub. In fact, let's pop open the docs. So we've got that as well. I encourage you to look through their docs. Their docs are very extensive. They've got a great amount of information here. I highly encourage you to take a look at their docs. And as per usual, everything will be linked in the video description, so be sure to check that out. So I tell you what, let's jump over to my instance of Hoarder. We'll take a look through that. We'll kind of run through some of that, and we'll talk about some of the AI stuff that's in there. We'll talk about some of the general functionality of the Hoarder app, and then I'll show you how to get Hoarder installed in Docker for your own personal setup. So this is my instance of Hoarder. Here we can see that on a local IP address. This is in dark mode because I prefer dark mode. However, if we come down to the bottom, there is, we can toggle that. I think we have to do a manual refresh. I don't know what's going on there. There we go. There's light mode, but of course I want dark mode. So that's what we're gonna run with in here. So coming down the left side, they've got Hoarder, the little logo up there. Then just some general navigation for home. Search, so that if you want to, you can say home lab, right? And just that quickly, it's returning all of that stuff very, very quickly. Super, super appreciate that. We've got tags over here, lots and lots of tags. Most of these tags were added by AI. We'll come back to the AI stuff later. But if you wanted to just say you want to look at open source software, you can click that, and there are the open source software related or items there. Self-hosting, same thing. I kind of dig all of this. And it's, let's see, sort by name. There we go. So you can sort different ways. We've got pictures. That's a tag that I've added. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But if we scroll down, if at any point if you delete stuff and it leaves kind of like hanging tags or tags that are no longer applicable to anything else, it's going to say unused tags down here. You can show those if we scroll down. If we want to, then we can just delete all unused tags and kind of clean things up a little bit for later on. So yeah, that's that. We also got settings over here. Settings, there we go. This is going to be settings for your personal account. They've got basic details for name and email address. They've also got password stuff here. So if you want to change your password, you have to enter your existing password, your current password, and then enter the new password twice like you would expect. Once you're done with that, of course, click Save. Next, we've got import bookmarks. So if you export your bookmarks from your browser, whether that's Chrome or Firefox or whatever, it's going to give you an HTML file. You can then use that HTML file and import it into here, which I love. There's also a Pocket import option. So if you use Pocket, you can export from Pocket and import into here. You can also do a new API key for doing things like logging into the browser extension, like we talked about earlier. I've got that extension up here, and you can, by default, anytime you click this, it automatically hoards it, and then you can delete it, and then you can go into the settings for it. It's an extra step, but just be aware that that's currently how things work. But you can click settings and you can log out. And then when you log out, you can either log in via a username and password or an API key, whichever you prefer. So that is settings. That is your account settings for your individual account. There are also admin settings where we can see server stats for total number of users and bookmarks and the server version. We can see background jobs for crawling, indexing, and inference jobs. We can see how many queued, pending, failed. All of that's available. We can also manually recrawl and reindex things as necessary by pushing any of the buttons there. And then, of course, at the bottom, we've got our users list. And because this is just for me, I'm the only user, so I'm the only one that shows up down there. Over here, if we come back over to the left side of the page, we've got some lists. Now, by default, all lists, favorites, and archive are the only lists that are in here. And that's fine. If we come over here, we can view all of the lists. We can edit the list, and just that easily. We can do a new nested list, or we can delete a list item. But again, I added Hoarder, Pictures, Scripts, Website, and YouTube here. And of course, these are just different ways to categorize, the different things that you're saving for later, the different things that you're hoarding. So for instance, let's say you wanted to use this like a Pinterest board or an idea board for, say, a video about a Docker container called Hoarder. You would create that list and then add some descriptive text about it, maybe get some images for it, maybe bookmark the website itself, maybe bookmark the GitHub repository, and maybe the Reddit page about it. So if I come back to here, I can see that here's the text that I saved about Hoarder. AI automatically added some additional tags down here. It's got the date on when it was added. We can expand this out and we can get more information about it. We can give it a title if we wanted to do that. We can see the tags that were added by AI, and we can identify them because they've got this little sparkly thing here. But additional tags that we've got are available in here. We might say Hoarder, right? And here we can see that I added that, but it doesn't have the sparkly next to it, which tells us that it wasn't automatically added by AI. So just something to keep in mind there. And we can add some notes. We can favorite, archive, or delete it. I'm gonna go ahead and save, and then I'm gonna exit out of that. But that's how you can just kind of manipulate some of the stuff there. Like for here, this is the hoarder.app URL. So if I expand this out, it does a really good job of just kind of grabbing all of the information from that page and bringing it in. That's kind of the fetching that we talked about a little bit earlier, but I'll show you when we get into deploying it, which of the containers as part of the Docker Compose or the stack does that. And again, you can click on Open Original and it's going to bring you over to here. I do wish that opened in a new tab, just a little nitpicky thing for me there. But again, you can add more tags, you can add notes, you can add attachments, banner image, screenshot. Those are both in here, but you can, I guess not add more, but view attachments. I misspoke there. But again, favorite, archive, or delete. Let's back out of that. And again, just other things that I've added via images or links or whatever, all in here. So you might use this as an idea board for a project like I'm doing for this video, little meta there. But we've also got pictures, and we've got scripts, like the script for the Asus NUC video that I did recently, and the DataCamp sponsorship that you saw earlier in this video. Websites that I've added here by just literally, grabbing a URL. Let's grab Reddit, right? And we'll just paste that in there and click save. Now it's going to go out and fetch everything that it needs to fetch for this to give it a header image, and some more information about the page and some AI tags and that sort of thing. Depending on the size of the page, this will take a little longer to show up. But those are some interesting tags for that. But let's open this up and see. That must be the first post that's on Reddit right now. That's interesting. So that just gives you an idea of how that works. You can see that I've done the same thing for my Patreon page there. If I open this up, there's our header image, there's my face image, and just more information that's available on that page. It did a really good job of grabbing a lot of this so that you can kind of keep this for later. Again, same thing for like the self-hosted icons page. It doesn't pull over everything real well, but it did its best. And then of course, like my website, DB Tech Reviews. Yeah, so some things it does really well, some things it could probably use some work on, but I think that's because there's a lack of standardization as far as how websites are built. So that's just something to keep in mind. And of course I did, some YouTube videos because I was curious about a few little things with regards to, honestly, I was testing out the AI tagging for some of this. The first thing I pulled in was my Cloudflare Tunnels, my big Cloudflare Tunnels video, and it did a really good job with the tagging down here. And I tried some stuff from 45 Drives and some stuff from Marcus Brownlee. And then Sterling PDF popped up in my recommended stuff. And like here, Sterling PDF is in the image there, but not in the title. But it found Sterling PDF and added open source software and PDF tools to that. But like when I pulled in my own video that has Sterling PDF in the title and the image, it didn't add it there by default. Maybe not even in the additional tags, there's no Sterling PDF there. So that's a little wonky, but stuff happens. Again, this is AI, right? AI does what AI wants. So that's kind of some YouTube stuff that I had going on there. After that, I started adding pictures because I was really curious about what it would do when I gave it different pictures to look at. So let's come over to my pictures list here. The first thing I gave it was, honestly, it was a cat picture that I deleted after the fact. But like this, if we open this up, this is obviously the Asus Mini PC, right? But here are all of the different tags that AI attached to it: technology, computers, hardware, Asus. It also added HDMI, which means it read this picture, and it found Asus and it found HDMI and added those as tags. It also added things like mini PC, it added consumer devices. Like, it did a really good job of identifying not only what this was, but adding some additional tags that might be relevant to looking it up later. I thought that was actually pretty cool. But again, like here, a picture of a squirrel I took the other day, animals, wildlife, animal behavior, nature, squirrels, outdoor fauna. Like, it did a really good job with this. And I added picture because I was doing some messing around with it later. And again, I can add notes, I can favorite, I can archive, or I can delete this. Then I added a TerraMaster device, and you can read F4 424 Max, but that didn't actually show up over here anywhere. Neither did TerraMaster, because again, that is hard to read, but it did recognize it as a network attached storage device. So I thought that was pretty cool. I really dig that. A couple of cat pictures. And again, it recognized animals, pets, cats, feline, cat care, outdoor cats. Same thing. I just gave it feet and a tail. And again, it gave cats, it gave cat breeds, furry companions, animals. So it's doing a really good job of identifying what's going on in pictures. Really do appreciate some of that. There are a couple of other things that I want to come back to the homepage for, just to talk about the interface a little bit. If we, again, we're here on the homepage. Currently, we're in masonry layout. And we can kind of see that things are staggered a little bit, because that's what masonry layouts do. They stack things so that you've got they kind of take out all of the unused space to just give you a different layout. Of course, if you're not comfortable with that, you want to go grid, you absolutely can. And we can see that it's added some space to make sure that all of these different boxes are the same size. List view, you can view it that way if you want to do that, or we can do compact view, which is list without actually showing the images. So what I want to do is actually come down here. Let's just do grid just for the sake of it. Up here at the top right, there's a bulk edit option. If we click that, we can select. So we can just select a few different things, and we can favorite those, for instance, right? Let's say though I wanted to favorite some stuff down here. I can, and of course I can click the three dots and go to favorite. But let's say I want to bulk favorite 3 things down here, or however many. What I have to do is scroll up, click edit, scroll down, select the things that I want to do, scroll up, click favorite. And it's done that. That's not a great user experience, in my opinion. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing, editing, whether you're doing archiving, deleting, whatever. If you're going to have this bar across the top, I really feel like it needs to stay stuck to the top, whether that's a position absolute or a position, whatever, right? I really feel like this whole bar needs to stay stuck to the top of the page so that as you're scrolling, it stays there. So that it doesn't disappear when you scroll down. It's a nitpicky thing, but as if you've watched my channel for a while, you may know that I used to be a website developer. So I was always looking for the best user experience when I was building websites, more specifically than anything. And that's one of the things that I would have absolutely done, was made sure that this whole bar just stuck to the top of the page. So when you scroll down, you can still do those edits, those bulk whatever, just a user interface thing. So I just wanted to get that out there as well. Let's see, of course we can search. I can do like Patreon. I'm not sure why. I guess because Patreon is listed in the description of these videos would be my guess there. Oops, PDF, those all show up. Let's try MKB, nope. Marquez, nope. Of course, Silverado, EV. So the search works really, really well. I just wish it stuck to the top. So I think that's basically everything I wanted to cover as far as Hoarder, the app, is concerned. Now, during this, we've talked a little bit about OpenAI and some of the automatic tagging that it's been used for in this setup. Again, that is completely optional. So if this doesn't apply to you, feel free to skip forward. But to take a look at OpenAI here, you can generate a new secret API key for your instance. Of course, you have to have an account, right? But you can just go to dashboard, and then you can just generate a new key over here under API keys. But I want to talk a little bit about usage, right? If we come over here to my usage, I don't know if there's going to be anything in here for today. I did a little bit, but not much. 0.004 cents worth of GPT-4o mini, just from the little bit of messing around I did today. Yesterday, I did most of the setup for this and dropping a lot of stuff in here and doing some testing. September activity. Yeah, there's here. Let's see. This was. Oh, that's October. No, go to September. There's basically nothing here, and that includes, like, I did some stuff in it yesterday, but not even a penny's worth of effort. Like, it's not even showing up. I wish I would quit doing that. But my monthly spend last month using this was 0. Like, they're not even going to charge me for the stuff that I did. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, unless you're going bonkers with your OpenAI configuration, which you might be able to do, it's not going to cost you hardly anything. So I just wanted to get that little bit out of the way. So, but with that said, let's jump over and take a look at how to get Hoarder set up in Docker. So if we come over here to the docs.hoarder.app URL, again, linked in the video description down there, there's an introduction to the app, which has got a lot of great information in here. Next, we can come to installation and then Docker Compose recommended. And it says, hey, here's how to do it, right? I don't necessarily like the way they go about this, but you can use the wget command if you want. What I like to do, though, is actually just grab this URL and then just go to it so that we can see what's going on here. And we're just going to go through this real quick. Version 3.8, the version isn't necessary with the newest version of Docker Compose. Both, if you try to deploy this using the version, whether it's in command line or in like something like Portainer, both of them will say, hey, this is no longer supported. So that we don't need that. But next, we've got some services. We've got the web, which is actually the web interface that we've been using. And it's got the image, which is currently hosted at the GitHub container repository. We've got a restart policy unless stopped, which is great. We've got a volume here, and it's actually using a Docker volume for this, and it is just declared as data. And it is also declared down here under volumes at the bottom of the page. I have not tried this with a mapped volume, so I would just probably stick to this because there's really nothing in there you need to mess with, right? So depending on what your setup is, you may want to use a mapped volume, but I can't guarantee that that will actually work. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Next, we've got ports. We've got ports 3000 on like the browser side and on the container side. If you're already using port 3000 for something else, only change the left half of the column, or the left half before the colon there. If you change anything after the colon or after, it's going to screw things up and won't work. So only change the left half of this. Next, we've got an env_file option here with a .env file listed under it, which is great. I totally get why they might want to do that. It's a lot of for security reasons, for keeping your Docker Compose clean. It makes sense to use a .env file, but right below that, they've got other environment variables. So I'm not sure why they went this route. It honestly doesn't make sense to me. I'm sure they've got their reasons. You could probably consolidate that if you wanted to, but we're just going to leave it as it is, just to not break anything. We've got a mealy address. We've got a browser web URL address. Both of those are containers that are listed further down in this Docker Compose. We've got an open API key. This, if anything, should be what's in that env file. I don't know why it's here. And of course, to use that, we would uncomment that and then put the open API key right there. We've got a data directory of /data. I don't know why they would want to give you the option to change that. It doesn't make sense to me, but they've been doing some weird things here with this Docker Compose. So Chrome, that is actually the next instance here. I'm not just making up or blurting out words. Chrome is the next service that's available under here. Again, this is on the GitHub repository, or the gcr.io repository, I guess, by Zeneca-Hub, Alpine-Chrome with the 123 tag on that. Basically, this is the container that's going to go out and fetch the different websites that you're bookmarking with Hoarder. That's why this is in here. It's actually meant, it's not going to give you a Chrome browser to use. It's the instance that it's using to go out and fetch the things that you're bookmarking. It's also got a restart unless stopped policy here. Some different commands like no sandbox, disable GPU. Don't mess with any of this, basically. Just leave this alone, you'll be fine. Next, we've got Mealy Search. That is the search functionality built into Hoarder. So again, this is one of those things that you can just leave alone, but just know that it's there. Again, I feel like because they've got the env variable file set up here, I don't know that we've got the environment variable or the environment stuff right below it. I don't know why this wasn't all just consolidated into the env file. If you're the developer and you're watching this, I would love to know what your rationale was for doing some of the stuff in an env file and the rest of the stuff in the environment variable section right here. Would love to know more details about that. Again, we've got a volume for Mealy Search down here that is also declared down here. Probably just don't mess with the volumes and you'll be just fine. We've got our Docker Compose here, but if we come back over to the installation for Docker, if we scroll down a little farther, again, we've got this env file that we need to use and create, or create and use, or whatever. You could probably do this using Portainer, but we're not going to in this video. If you're using an env file for stuff, I prefer to just do all of that via command line. I apologize if you're a Portainer user, but I promise using command line isn't scary if you just familiarize yourself with it. So I encourage you to follow along in the command line when we get to that point here in a minute. But basically, it says populate the environment variables in this .env file that we will create later. and it's got the Hoarder version. It's got the next auth secret with a super random string. It's got a melee master key with another random string, and the next auth URL where it says HTTP localhost port 3000. So I actually learned from experience that this next auth URL needs to be the URL of your instance. If you're just going to host it locally, it would be whatever the IP address is and then port 3000. If you're going to put this on a URL, make this the URL that you're going to put it on. It will just save you some headache later when you're doing things like logging out. If you don't change this and you log out, it's just going to redirect your browser to localhost port 3000. So this next auth URL just needs to be the URL of your instance. And it actually follows that up with that. I didn't read it, and that I found out the hard way, but they actually do say it if I was smart enough to read. So, and then before that, because I'm jumping ahead like I always do, it says you should change the random strings, and those are for the secrets up here. You can use this to generate a string, or you can just come up to your password manager and click generate and generate a string of characters that way. Just use different strings of characters for both of those. I tell you what, let's do this. Let's actually jump over to my terminal. Let's actually start deploying some of this, because we're going to start going back and forth and it's going to be weird, right? So we're going to grab this right here. This is our Docker Compose. Again, links to everything will be available in the video description. So I'm SSH'd into my system here. This is an old LXC that I'm not using anymore. So let's do an LS. Cool. Let's make a directory. Let's call it Hoarder tut. And then let's CD into Hoarder tut. And then let's go ahead and create our Docker Compose for this. So we're going to do nano docker compose.yaml, and we're just going to paste that in. Now you don't have to use nano. I just like to use nano. I know there are other editors out there. Feel free to use whatever you want to use. I'm just using nano because I like to use nano. So we've got our Docker Compose in here that we haven't really done much with other than just copy and paste. What we are going to do, though, is come down here to where it says Open API key, and we're just going to delete the comment in front of it so that we're actually going to use it. Now, if you're not going to use OpenAI, you can skip this little part right here. But in order to use OpenAI, you need to do this. You need to uncomment that line and delete those 3 dots. And then you need to go to your OpenAI API key section and create a new key. We're just going to call this tut. Like so. You can decide who it's owned by, the name, the project, and its permissions. You can select all of that to make sense for your setup. I'm just going to generate a new key. I'm going to click copy. I'm going to minimize this. And then I'm going to paste this in like so. That all looks good. So I'm going to do Control O and enter and exit. Of course, if you're using a different editor, your setup will be different than that. Now, the next thing we need to do is actually create a .env file for some of the environment variables. So we're going to do nano.env. So then randomly, while you're recording a video and your terminal decides to crap out right in the middle of you trying to paste some environment variables in there, you then get to switch back over to your Proxmox dashboard where we're going to paste this stuff in. Now, the IP address for my next auth URL for this is going to be an IP address on port 3000. So it's going to be 192.168.0.248. And then I've got these 2 different strings up here that I need to replace. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete both of those real quick. And then again, you could run a command to do this in your terminal window or whatever. I'm just going to grab a couple of these like so. I'm just going to generate a new one here, copy that. I'm going to come down a line and paste that in. Okay, so now we've got our Hoarder version, we've got a couple of secrets, and we've got our URL configured for our .env file. Now, you could deploy with this and it would be fine, it would work, you wouldn't have any issues, but there are some additional things that you may want to consider before deploying this. So what we're going to do is actually come back over to their documentation website. And of course, there's more information if we scroll down farther about setting up OpenAI and starting the service and extensions and all of this different stuff, right? But if we come over here to the left-hand side of the screen and click configuration, there are several more environment variables that we can use for to customize our deployment of Hoarder. So, like our URL, our secret, our melee address, all of this stuff probably leave it alone. But if you wanted to restrict how large the files are that are uploaded to your server, you could do this, right? The default is 4 megs, but you could make this 1 meg, or you could make it a gig, or you could make it whatever you wanted it to be by adding this environment variable, by like doing this and coming over to here, come down to something like this and be like 1024, right? And make that a gigabyte instead of 4 megabytes. You could, where did it go? It's over here. You could scroll down and you could say, do you want to disable signups to prevent other people from signing up on your instance? Default is no, but you can disable signups by adding this and setting it to true. You can add OAuth authentication if you want to do that. There's inference for automatic tagging with OpenAI stuff. You can add all of these different things, which again, by changing this may change how much your OpenAI account gets charged. So just be aware of that. You can change these, but do all of that with some discretion. There are crawler configs as well. I guess that's all there is there, but just know that you can go in and manipulate some of the environment variables in your setup to further refine it to do what you want it to do specifically for your needs. And once you've got all of that done, you can then do a Control-O and enter a Control-X. If you're using Nano, of course, use the appropriate commands for your setup. And then you can do docker compose up-d. We'll give this a couple of minutes to do its thing, and then once it's up and running, we'll jump over and get logged in for the first time. Okay, and here we are just a couple of minutes later after I did some troubleshooting because I was already using port 3000 on this LXC and didn't realize it. So anyway, we're up, we're running, everything looks good there. So what I'm gonna do is just pop this open in a new thing here. And of course, the first thing it wants us to do is sign in, but we don't have an account yet. So we're gonna do sign up instead. And once we've entered our name, email, and password a couple of times, we'll click sign up. And then it does this thing that I love, and it automatically signs us in. And I think that's great. A lot of apps will make you sign up and then sign in. I appreciate that they just don't do that here. So now that we've got our new instance set up and ready to go, let's actually configure the browser extension real quick, just so I can show you how that works. First, you have to have the browser extension installed. You can find the link to that over on their website, or you can search for it in your browser's app store or extension store or whatever they're called. Then we can come up to here and click here, and then we're gonna put in the server address, in this case 192.168.0.248 port 3040. Of course, if you put this on a URL, you will want to put that URL in there instead. Just make sure that this applies to your setup and not mine. Once we've got that, we can click configure. Now, we've got a couple of options where we can either log in with an email address and password, or we can grab an API key. So let's do that real quick. Let's come over to our settings. Let's generate a new API key. We're going to call this browser extension. Click create, copy. Nope. So I believe the copy function over here will only work if you're on an HTTPS or an SSL. Otherwise, you're just going to have to copy it manually. Then you can come up to here, click configure, put in your API key and click login. And hey, it grabbed my email address, and now we're set up and ready to go. So just to make sure that this is actually working, let's go to our home page. Let's go to the Hoarder homepage here and just click. And it is AI tags are loading. All of this looks good here. There it is. So we come back to our homepage. Let's refresh. And right there is our Hoarder instance up and running. So guys, there you go. There is Hoarder. We took a look at the website. We took a look at the documentation and the GitHub page. We took a look at my instance, and then we went through the process of getting it installed, even with some issues that I ran into while I was doing that. Of course, what I demonstrated was just how I might use this instance, but I would love to know in the comment section down below how you might use a Hoarder instance like this. Is this something that you would install on your phone and take with you on the go, of course, with a domain name and that sort of thing? Or is this just something that you would use locally and that sort of thing? So let me know all of that in the comment section down below. Again, don't forget to check out the sponsor of this video. Again, everything linked in the video description, including all of the resources from this video. So I think with all of that said, I'm going to wrap this up. I do want to thank you for spending a few minutes of your day with me today, and I'll talk to you in the next video.